Hello and welcome to In the Ethical Arena, the podcast and video series providing candid conversations with local public officials about the leadership, responsibility, and commitment linked to service for communities across South Florida. My name is Dr. Tony Anderno, and I am the Executive Director for the St. Thomas University Institute for Ethical Leadership. We are so proud to welcome you. Our host is Don Slesnick, an individual who continues to practice leadership and shape change with the people of South Florida after serving as the mayor of Coral Gables for 10 years. This episode, our podcast and video library, and the amazing perspectives our guests will be sharing create value for aspiring public leaders and those seeking to serve their fellow citizens to lead change for our world. And now, without further ado, I present Don Slesnick.
We are delighted to welcome Enid Weisman as our guest in the ethical arena. Enid is the mayor of Aventura. She was first elected in 2014, and she has served the citizens for the past 6 years. Prior to her serving in elected office, she was the director of human resources for the Miami-Dade County Public Schools, one of the 5 largest school systems in the nation. And Enid, we are just delighted to have you with us today, and I'm glad to see you again. We go back a long way in the Miami-Dade County Public Schools.
Yes, we do. A very long way. It's interesting. 6 degrees of separation, themes that run through your life, your entire life, when you have time to go back and reflect. And, I know we're talking about ethics today, and professional practices reported to me in Dade County Public Schools. So I'm very aware and worked very hard with Joe Santorino and the Commission on Ethics. I think it's probably more important today than maybe any time in our future. And I want to say that young people are watching us, that it's more than just us and the 30-second sound bits. With you or on any social media, young people really are watching us. They're watching us, they're seeing what we're doing, they're making judgments, and some aren't very favorable. For sure, they don't think we've been good guardians of this planet, and maybe we haven't. I started my life pretty much what girls did back then. You were either a nurse or a teacher, and I didn't do well with blood and needles, so I decided to become a teacher. And I started my career at Allapattah Junior High. We didn't have middle schools. It was prior to integration. And within 2 or 3 years, we did integrate the schools in Dade County. And I guess I couldn't keep a job because I was an assistant principal, a vice principal, a principal. I was a region director, an ESE director. I was a region superintendent. I was in charge of all schools of choice. And then I was chief human capital officer with Dade County with 15 departments that reported to me. And I guess I was a little crazy, Don, because I thought I could be mayor and do what I did for Dade County and tried to for 1 year. And what happens is I didn't do a great job of either one. So I reconsidered the time that I had, and I retired from Dade County Public Schools.
Well, I think the citizens of Aventura thought that you did a great job. You certainly have served a long time and been returned to office. But what motivated you to seek public office?
Quite honestly, and I think maybe you'd find this more than people are willing to admit, nothing. I turned down public office over and over and over again. My job in the school system allowed me to work with dozens of municipalities over 30 years. And I was much more comfortable working behind the scenes. And the way Aventura is set up, we're a commission of 7, with 4 retiring during a 2-year cycle, and then following 2 years, the other 3 retiring. So I had said no for a good 2 years, and basically they did an intervention. The mayor, the assistant mayor, and every member of the commission endorsed me and said, please, we really need your kind of expertise. We do have a charter school, a K-8 in the city. Last August, we opened up our high school, and they felt that with my background, I guess I would be a good fit. And one night I got tired of saying no, and someone reminded me that if we don't get good, decent people to go into politics, then how can we expect good, decent governance? Because politics isn't nice. Okay, it's not nice and it's not comfortable. And I don't care who's held whatever office they held, they will tell you that there were a very unpleasant part of it. But it was kind of like a night they all ganged up and said, you know, you're going to be our next mayor. And I said, okay. And I have never looked back on that decision. It's been a wonderful decision for me, a wonderful experience.
And I know your city is happy about that. So that's one thing. So
Yeah.
tell us, how would you describe your leadership style, and how do you believe that you actually put yourself forward to lead people?
Okay, I'm going to tell you the truth, because honestly, that's all I know how to do. My mother told me long ago that if you wanted to be a liar, you had to have a great memory, because you have to remember all the little fibs you tell. The longer I was a leader, the less important my decision-making became. If I did not have, and my number was always around an 85% number, if I didn't have 80%, 85% buy-in, I'd go back to the drawing board. Okay, with 85%, I'd like to say I could change the world. And I think most people would agree you can make all kinds of moves in public education, which is fairly restrictive. I'd like to think that I'm very collegial, but I also know I'm very strong in my opinions and that I believe my opinions are right. So it's that fine balance. And I think the one thing that served me the best is my ability to listen. Okay, and listen to more than just the words. When people came into my office, whether I was a principal or a chief capital officer, I knew that they were impressed by my title, unfortunately. And part of it was also setting a stage that their opinion is as important as mine. And the only way we win is when we both win. And I guess that served me well in negotiating with our 5 labor unions. Not easy with an education system that had no money for raises. And you well know how those situations turn out. But again, I think I had a reputation, and I think I was a fierce fighter for teachers. And even though I negotiated for management, we're in the bottom of a peninsula. Okay, out in the middle of the Caribbean Ocean, we don't have a labor force that's other than our own. We're not like New York or Boston, where somebody hops on a train and they're in another metropolitan city. You're either here in Dade or you can travel to Broward. So I've always thought it behooves us to learn how to play in the sandbox. Hopefully the sand will be resilient and we'll always have our sand blocks to play in. And so I would say keys to collegial management are hearing what's said beside the words. There's always a feeling, people say, and often they say the words they think they want that you want to hear, but it's watching them deliver it. That you can always say, well, you seem a little hesitant about that, or let's go into that a little more. And I think it gives you a better chance at having a better decision.
I also noticed on your resume and your bio that you say you like leading by example and I strive to inspire. I thought those were 2 great lines, by example and inspiration.
Well, I learned real fast in a school. If you wanted a clean school and you were the principal, when you see trash and notebook paper on the floor, you bend down and pick it up. When people see that you can do the everyday work, I think once a month I fed the kids in the cafeteria. I put a net on my hair and I put gloves on my hands, and I actually went in the line. It's not a principle of mine, Deming said it long before me, that you have to understand the work of the people at the very bottom of your chain. They're the ones that will know how to improve it. So again, if I ask you to do something, I should be willing to do it myself. So again, whether it was ride a bus, and I've certainly done that in Aventura, you know, we have an in-city transit shuttle bus system. And 4 years ago, I was really concerned. I said, who's riding it? Who's actually on our buses? We have 9 routes and about 25,000 people a month ride it, which is great. We get cars off the road. But I got on and the route takes about an hour. And I was very surprised at the people who use it. There are people that have cars. Okay, the most popular stop was not the mall, which really surprised me. But I guess it made sense. The most popular spot to stop was the hospital. Because if people were getting treatment or something, at least they didn't have to ride back, and it stops at every condo. So, you know, I don't mind getting my hands dirty. When COVID came out, we did something I'd never done in my age. I never did a GoFundMe. I didn't even understand what a GoFundMe is, but someone called and said, you know, the restaurants are closed. Why don't we do a GoFundMe to raise money to buy food from our restaurants in Aventura and feed our first responders, our police, our fire engines. So we were lucky. We raised over $42,000. And for 8 weeks, we were able to feed breakfast and lunch. Our local restaurants all got paid for breakfast and lunch for anywhere from 30 to 150 people. Lunch and dinner. And again, we did the work. I don't expect anybody to do what I don't do. It was all through July. It was quite warm out. But, you know, if our first responders can get out there and make the world safe for us, clearly we can bring restaurant quality food to them.
Yeah, well, that is a great story and very inspirational. But let me ask you too, in your time in office, have you faced ethical dilemmas or ethical situations which you had to look within yourself to get through? And I mean, almost every public official these days faces either perceived ethical dilemmas or legal ethical dilemmas. How do you handle that?
You study the situation, and never be afraid to ask for advice. I think we all have our own gurus that have maybe been through this a little longer than we have. And we don't have to go it alone. I think it's a big mistake that people make by thinking that they have to have every decision themselves a number of times. And I don't think a day goes by where there isn't an ethical issue of some kind. But I never hesitate to reach out and talk to judges that are very esteemed in this area, to talk to other leaders that have had similar kinds of cases. And almost anything we do can be perceived as ethics. When we opened the high school, you know, there's a lottery system to get into our K-8, and the parents wanted a direct entry into the high school. Okay, but the high school only services less than 50% of the children in Aventura. So it's a choice school. But as I said, I wasn't Moses, I wasn't Solomon. I don't know how to cut the baby in half. That when you get into a school by a lottery and you're still a taxpayer in our city, it shouldn't be a lottery that lasts for 12 years. And saying just what I'm saying to you, I told them, I'm not Solomon. I don't know that I'm making the right decision. I said, but one thing I've learned is that decisions can be changed. And if it doesn't work, we'll go right back to the drawing board and come up with something else, which is what we've been doing with COVID for 6 months now. We opened our 2 schools a week ago. And I'll knock on wood, so far, so good. So far, so good. But it's going to be a challenging year. I've said it to everyone. I said, don't be surprised. It's going to be a series of openings and short closings and opening as we get hot spots and as it moves from place to place. I certainly anticipate us making arrangements and conforming to whatever we need to do at the time.
Well, very, very good advice and very good direction for people who will be hearing your comments. Let me say this. We've taken some of your time now, and you've been so gracious with sharing your thoughts. And do you have any thoughts that you'd like to share with our students and our faculty about ethical leadership and about the future of this nation and your city?
I always have a few thoughts that I would share. Long ago, somebody told me that if you find something you love and you do it every day, it's not like work. I can say that I loved every job I had in the school system. I learned from them. I made my share of mistakes. Everybody does. I think that a key to ethics, and I said it before, it's honesty. It's honestly looking at a situation when you don't have the answers, or the science isn't behind it, or we don't know how we're going to get rapid transportation to all 6 parts of the county. I said, I think you own it. I think people want to be part of a solution. They don't want a solution given to them. They want to be involved in the making of the solution. And I think ownership is key. I'm a little appalled every day at some of the things I see on a national level. I think the most recent might be someone with COVID leaving a hospital to go to a less restrictive environment. Again, children are watching, people are watching. They're seeing how we make decisions or how we don't make decisions. And if in the making of our decisions, we're caring about the rest of the people, because I certainly would question some that were made very recently. But I think it's absolutely extraordinary that you are doing these seminars on ethics. At one time, it was an important part of college curriculum. In the past 20, 25 years, I think it's been erased from the curriculum. We kind of rewrite history while we rewrite ethics. And I'm so glad to see it coming back in good governance initiatives. I'm sorry Katie's wasn't more successful, but honestly, seeing the new young group of politicians, I think we probably need to start with ethics in kindergarten, because most of what we learn there anyway. So if you learn how to share, if you learn how to tell the truth, if you learn how to make decisions that don't hurt other people, I think you're on a good track.
Well, Mayor Enid Weisman, we have just enjoyed so much having you with us today, and we are looking forward to sharing your interview, your thoughts, and your expectations for the future of your city and this country with all of our students and our faculty at St. Thomas. And so we thank you very much.
And you are so welcome. And I want to really give a shout out to Maria, who's been absolutely amazingly wonderful. I'm not at all concerned about her in the job market. She's going to soar to the top very quickly. Yeah, outstanding. And thank you again so much.
Thank you. Don't go away yet. Okay. We'll do a little wrap up.
Well, from us here in the Ethical Arena, that's a wrap. Another episode in the books. We hope that you've enjoyed this episode, and we want to say thank you to the mayor for the time, perspective, and leadership shared today. As we close, it's apropos to note that leadership is not about knowing. It's about doing. The mayor puts this into practice each and every day, and we want to say thank you for that. We hope that you've enjoyed this installment of In the Ethical Arena and hope that you join us again next time. This is Tony Indodoro signing off and reminding you that leadership is a process, one that cultivates action that will grow into amazing things for our world. However, we need you to plant that seed. Thanks so much for listening. Take care out there and have a great day.